In this video, I'll be going over Through Ultan's Door issue number 1. This is a zine that was a successful Kickstarter. It's a very high quality the way it looks here physically. It's available on ttrpg only in PDF. It's not print on demand, and I'm not sure if you can get this still in print. But the PDF, of course, is going to be very good. You can print it out yourself. Very cool. So I'm going to be spoiling this, so don't watch this video if you might play it. But it looks great on the outside here. I love this art. I'll be talking about this art a little bit later, as these are some of the characters that you'll come across in this zine. So this zine is an adventure. In essence, it's a small dungeon crawl. And here's the back here, Through Ultan's Door. It talks about the next issue, and this is issue number 1. So I will be also doing videos down the road on the other issues. So very good quality, high. I like the print, very dark here. The dark's very dark on the cover. The cover is good cardstock, and the book comes out from it, obviously. So that's very cool. And here's the main book. And this was written and the art direction by Ben Lawrence, and it's an excellent job has been done with it. So one thing that's very cool is it comes with this kind of encounter table sheet here, showing you what you might roll up on random encounters, as here on the back as well. A little bit smaller font there to fit it all in on this one page, but again, very good cardstock here, and very neat. Looks kind of a little bit like a menu that you might get. So we're going to put that to a side there, and the cover is going to be our map. And the map is very well done. It's got that great kind of classic OSR type style to it. And I like that. I believe that these have been improved, this version. And you can see that the room numbers are very well defined with these gray circles here. It's got your key down here. I would have loved to have had just maybe a side little section that had just the names of all these kind of written on the side here of what rooms is what, but that's just a small little nitpick of mine, but it's very minor. It's still very serviceable. So I'm just going to kind of leave that in the background so you can kind of see. Maybe I'll reference it here and there, but it's a really great map, and even very small details, stuff to describe in a room, you can see that it's in there in that little bit of drawing there. So let's go over the book proper. So what we've got is a small dungeon that is in this Dreamlands city called Zion. It's a cursed city of the Dreamlands, and it's a kind of a flying city in the Dreamlands. And it's got a little bit of a history here. Now, I will say that the writing is very, I would say, kind of flowery. It uses a lot of, interesting words to make up its sentences. It's obviously very kind of artistic in its writing as well as how it's laid out. But this is just kind of telling you a little bit about what's going on, obviously the introduction. So what you've got is Ultan's Door, and Ultan's Door is going to be found in the waking world. It's going to be it can be in any city in whatever campaign setting you have, and Ultan is going to be a shopkeeper, and it's going to tell you a little bit more about that. And he's got a door that appears at the bottom of his store, and people go into it. Maybe some come out, maybe some don't, and it's just kind of a mystery. So cool section here about the door. Rumors about Ultan's Door. You roll a d8, and maybe these are the rumors, such as my cobbler's son paid the fee because he charges people a fee. It's just a hole that leads into the sewers. If you want to smell like shit, by all means, pony up. So some cool things there, rumors about it. And then maybe some reasons for you to venture in there. You are circus performers, troubadours, and thespians who wish to learn the rare arts of the dream world. You wish to be a hero like Garanax, Saint of Crows. You are devotees of the slumbering god. You hold that the so-called waking world is merely one rung on a metaphysical ladder of dream worlds that flow ever downwards, becoming more potent and condensed at each stage until they pour into the great dream of Manayu Shuhai. In drinking deep of the pleasures and horrors of wishery, you approach one step closer to this holy of holies. So you can see there the kind of flowery language, obviously trying to make something that sounds as good as it looks. And then it's going to have kind of telling you about Ultan's shop. Again, you could put this in any city in your game. So you got the stats for Ultan and Samir that are in the shop. It's his nephew Samir is, and it uses descending armor class. This is for old school obviously role-playing games. 1 hit dice, 5 hit points, AC 8, TAC 1. Tells you the damage. That's MV is going to be move, MR is going to be morale, and then you've got his stats. Pretty normal stats that you see the way they are. Cool little piece of art there from Russ Nicholson. Of course, I'm a big fan of. And overall, the art is cool. There's only about eight pieces of art. I think 9 maybe with the cover. But still, it's very serviceable. So it's going to be, whenever you go through the door, you're going to be in the ruins of the Inquisitor Theater. And this is where the Inquisitors Guild used to come up with elaborate punishments, reserving their dreaded puppets for the most hideous of offenses. Justice, as they say, may be seen as well as done, and the Inquisitors think of justice as a great and splendid show. And it shows in this dungeon. Of course, this place has been long since dilapidated. When the shadow of its curse fell once again upon Zion, hope became an antique custom. The great outposts in the Undercity and the white jungle below are abandoned, their former tenants absent. Other things now make their way through the darkness. And of course, those are going to be the things that you're going to interact with. So we do have 2 factions. We've got the Guildless and the White Swine. So the Guildless are citizens that have committed shameful crimes. They're stripped of their masks. A lot of people in Zion, they wear masks. And they're given the wash. In essence, it's a decoction that blackens the mouth and destroys their vocal cords. So they can only speak with pipes. And they're exiled to these kind of sewer areas. They band together to create forlorn communities, communicating through haunting language played over pipes. And they are filled with fear and hatred of their gilded brethren. They absolutely despise anyone that wears a mask or a helmet that might look like a mask or cover someone's face. They have a village, which is in a great wilderness, to the south of the ruins of the Inquisitor's Theater. And their leader is Shaltromo, a shaman of the Pickled Prince. And he's also in this I would say adventure. That's what it is. It's a small little dungeon crawl adventure. They also have these dun-colored dogs that have the head like a horse skull. And they feast on rotting flesh and offal in graves and catacombs, and are domesticated by the guildless to serve as watchdogs. So they will respond to any unwanted incursions with force. So if you try to parley with them, they will respond with fear and hatred if you have any masked members. But if you approach them cautiously and communicate with them as best as possible, you will find out that they are locked in a struggle against the White Swine, and they will look positively on you if you have slain the swine. They can understand speech, but they can only respond with gestures and signs. And then you've got the White Swine. They're kind of a thin creature with swine heads, human-like eyes, and hands of children. And all they do is pretty much protect and care for their queen, a huge immobile mass of swine flesh, constantly birthing and feeding. They feed her great masses of offal and tend to her needs, suckling at her numerous teats for their sustenance. Very cool. So they're violent, they're cunning, they're mischievous, they need to be killed in essence. And they see in the dark, they move very good at moving in the silence. Now they're soft children's hands. So you can't really communicate with them, and they'll strike from stealth, and they'll flee when outmatched. And they're a good enemy to pretty much slaughter in this adventure. And they'll do whatever they can to protect the mother. So we got also the Weaver of Shadows, a very interesting monster here. It's a demon of the Archon Asmorain, spinner of the skeins of fate. And so this is something that's in essence going to be kind of a boss type creature at the bottom of this adventure. Looks very cool as it deals with obviously its webs. It has kind of like almost like a Pope's crown, a distended forehead, as you can see here as this thing is upside down. It's an artist of violence. I love that. That sounds pretty cool. And it also can create exquisite shadow puppets that come to life, and they will try to murder you, of course. It's highly intelligent, but it can only communicate telepathically, and it will not only do that with those it considers its prey, with one exception. The thing is, it loves and craves the veneration that is due as the beloved of Asmorain. So you can, in essence, give it a sacrifice or any type of carcass or something like that, and you may be able to kind of not be killed by it instantly. And it may bestow upon you a gift, the thing that we'll be talking about at the end. It will pierce your chest with the claw of one of its legs, injecting a shadowy ichor into the blood as they seizure. And then they will have a ensuing transformation. So something very cool, but kind of dark and evil. So we've got encounters here that tells you how to roll for those. One thing that's cool is on a roll of 1 to 2, roll 1d8 and consult the following chart. Pretty normal. Number 1 is an encounter with the indicated creature. If you roll a 2, you encounter the creature's spore, a trace or indication of the presence of the creature. I think that's very smart and could be used in other games that you could come up. Like if you have an adventure or something, use that. I think that's pretty smart. On a spore result, a 1 or 2 will, of course, if it's rolled again in the next encounter check, you encounter the creature. So like the guildless, you'll hear distant piping. It explains about them, and then it's got their stats as well as their equus hounds. And then like the white swine, you're going to come across their fresh white feces. Shadow puppets, the shadows become unnaturally dark. So you know that theirs are nearby. Oniric pudding is a sparkling sheen of slime on the floors or walls. And one thing, what it does, and in essence, it goes into kind of like your mind, and it makes you see something very strange that will hopefully you will get close to it, and then it will lash out and try to kill you. An example of that will be a king that feeds swans into a spaghetti press, out of which come strands of starlight. Or a beautiful woman nurses a white lobster at her breast while crooning a soothing lullaby. So it says when one approaches, it will, of course, the scene will melt away, and the pudding will surge forward to attack. There's these things called ravens of perjury, which I'll show you in the back, the piece of art. It's a bunch of raven wings with no body or a head, but it has one big eye, a single staring eye that can really do damage to you, obviously. You've got sewer worms, and then you've got Shaltromo and his apprentices. And, of course, it's got their spore for each one of those. So he's kind of an old man, pale, with white hair and a bun, black and white withered mouth, wears a tattered vest hanging with fetishes. I like how his holy symbol is a ruined child's doll. So very cool. And again, I will say that, this has a very cool artistic kind of look to it. Just the way that the rooms are, the way that stuff is written, it's very cool. Then you've got the explorers. So you might see crust of bread and paper wrapping. So 2 figures ride a zebra striped caterpillar beast, which is right here. So here they are. These are explorers that are exploring this area the same as you. He's got a great spear on his back. There's a woman. She's got a conical hat. Both wear rich damask robes. And they belong to the Explorers Guild. They have traveled from Zion above, hoping to find the tunnel that an ancient map suggested once led into the White Jungle from the Inquisitor's Theater. He assumes that anyone not wearing a mask is guildless scum and expect them to prostrate themselves before him and show proper fawning respect. So very cool. I like the piece of art here, obviously, with these explorers. And then we're going to get into the actual adventure proper. So you're going to start here, and once you go out through the door. So to the east is going to be the area of the guildless, all right, and to the west is going to be an area of the white swine. So fairly normal. You're going to go and just one thing I think is really cool. Again, it's always about these adventures and your choices you get to make. So you start here, and right away you're going to have a choice. Do you go through this door here, or do you try to go through this door? Now this door is going to be propped up. Something's behind it trying to stop you to get through it. So adventurers may not try to go through that door and just go to the easy one, and then they're going to follow this path. And it has a lot of good branching and coming together and stuff like that, some secret doors. But the place is obviously very old, very dilapidated. Stuff is kind of destroyed. Obviously, you've got these white swine that have destroyed stuff and crapped all over the place. And then you've got the guildless that have kind of made it their own as well. And then you've got this large cave system down here to the south. To the north is going to be this river that flows, this sewer river. And so I just think it's interesting that you can make a choice here to go kind of the easy way or go through this harder door, and it's going to make your experience with this adventure different for maybe if you play this multiple times, each time the choice is made with a new set of adventurers or something, players, which choice they're going to make. And then you're going to come to this area. Do we go west? Do we go north? And that also is going to lead you into a different path. So it's always fun to find out exactly which ones you're going to interact with first, which faction, the white swine or the guildless. And ultimately, while this looks very big, it's not extremely long. A lot of the rooms, some of the rooms are, I wouldn't say a lot, I guess, like I said, some of them are empty, but have a lot of interesting stuff in them. There's a good bit of treasure to be found. in various knickknacks and things that might not be just straight money, but things that are obviously of value. So we've got, through Ultan's door, this domed room. This is going to be a main hallway here of decision in the antechamber. This candle hall is very cool. You're going to have this room here. It's kind of like a bar. You've got these red tiles that are in the floor, and I think that's going to be interesting for adventurers to just say, like, why are these leading me in a certain direction, or leading us? Why does this go down here to the south? And that could obviously spur them for further, exploration. But this area here, after you go through the bar, is going to be these alcoves. These alcoves are very cool because they depict pictures in each one of the alcoves on the west and eastern walls that are going to give just another sense of the way that Zion and this dream world, this dreamland is, showing you a lot of the way that things are. There's a lot of kind of beat crow-like heads of creatures, statues, things like that. So then you're going to get to the theater of punishments, and this is where, of course, the Inquisitors used to punish people. This has been taken over by the White Swine. They're going to be in here hiding. It's a tiered platform going down to the bottom, and there's a stage down here. Underneath the stage is going to be the Queen Sal. She is down there, just bloated and giving birth and just really disgusting. So you're going to be, of course, more than likely attacked by all these White Swine. There's some interesting ways that you can go about this room to the east, or finding this there's a secret passageway, but it needs an item that is in another room. So it's going to be something cool to maybe hopefully come back to and go through and find this room 8, because room 8 is the Temple of the Holy Puppets, and this is a very neat room. There are 2 puppet, pretty much large, huge puppets that lie dormant until activated. And they're very cool in the way that their description is. One is the sweating maiden, and the other is the groomsman. She has a parasol, and the groomsman has got these, he's on stilts that are like razor sharp scissors, and they can pretty much hit you like a spear or polearm. So it's going to be very cool, because they're going to kind of have a way for you to, maybe if you know the secret kind of password, they're going to start speaking with magic mouth, that you can get past them. And then you're going to come to, if you're able to get past it, where you'll have to fight them, and they're going to be very nasty, and it should be a very cool battle between these 2 interesting puppets. But then there's a figure, and it's this marionette that you can actually use if you have a very high dexterity, and it has a lot of cool things like rolling 5d6 under your dexterity. That's how you make a test in this adventure, or like maybe roll 3d6, I might say, for something else. Just as a parameter to all of a sudden kind of be like, there it is. Like, if this is how you can get through it, is if you can roll under 5d6 in order to use this puppet. And then you're going to continue on throughout the dungeon. Of course, you're going to get to the area of the Guildless. They have their shrine to the Pickled Prince. Here's a pretty cool piece of art here. It shows some of the Guildless here and their strange hounds. So again, a very great piece of art. Everything's kind of, again, kind of decayed, or there's a lot of excrement everywhere. And you're going to come across Shal Tromo and his apprentices, possibly at the baths. There is a pantry, a storeroom. There's barracks, again, with the Guildless. And depending on what you've done, maybe these things are going to attack you, these guys, or they won't. So you could possibly go through the Guildless area a little bit safer than you will, of course, the White Swan that will try to murder you. There is a cool big tree that's busting out of the wall here. It has this kind of silver-skinned melons that's very interesting. There's a lot of information to be had in these smaller rooms to the side if you can get into them, but this tree is completely busted out through the wall, and it shows you there, A and B, what you'll find in there. Then these rooms up here are all going to kind of lead you to be able to see out through arrow slits and check out the river, the sewer river. There's an armory right here that hopefully you'll be able to get some good scale mail, some short bows, spears, and scimitars. That'll help you as well. There's a well here, and then there's like barracks and stuff like that, places to hold food for the Guildless. And then you're going to come down here to 26, which is going to be the opening of this large cavern, which has this chasm that runs throughout it. And there's going to be a large tunnel, and this goes downward. There's going to be where there's a bunch of webs from the lair of the Weaver of Shadows. And it, of course, can traverse its webs very well. It's going to know if someone's here, and this is kind of its layer number 29. I don't even know if you can see that on the thing. Yeah. So that's where it's going to kind of layer, and you might have a big battle here, kind of your final boss battle here with the Weaver of Shadows. Once you're able to if you're able to get down into its lair, you're going to find a great, huge amount of corpses and skeletons, and you'll be able to search them and find some great loot. Not a whole of it is weapons or magical weapon stuff, but a lot of stuff that's worth a lot of money, and obviously things that have the great feel of Zion in them, as adventures and stuff like that have come down there to meet their doom. And then you can go into the depths, which will take you down deeper into hopefully the White Jungle, which will continue on with the next zine, issue number 2. So here's the Ravens of Perjury. Their eyes, they have pretty much just like a crow, a raven that's got a beam that comes out of its eye. It can also put you to sleep. It's pretty cool. You've got the pudding, which I've already discussed, and how it kind of will pretty much do kind of an illusion to you and lure you closer so that it may murder you. There's 2 spells, Testify and Chain of Evidence. Testify, in essence, kind of creates Ravens of Perjury whenever someone lies. And Chain of Evidence is a neat thing that shows you who has touched the item last, like in a series of the chain of evidence of that item. And then it discusses here the champions of the Weaver of Shadows, and this is very cool. So it's going to inject the black ichor, from which it spins its shadow puppets, because it can create these cool, elaborate shadow puppets that will attack you. You'll immediately begin to seizure, and those that witness the bestowing of the gift will notice the shadow of the recipient darken and it starts to move out of sync with the shaking and the dance during the seizures. Once it passes, the party will find the recipient subtly changed. His demeanor will be different, and he will sometimes act from unknown motives. From time to time, the party members will catch the champion's shadow whispering into his ear, and will hear a hushed voice. So in essence, of course, the champion will not speak of that conversation, but it's going to be talking to you and trying to, of course, persuade you to do certain things, as it's now, you are now a pawn of Azmorain in the Numinous Gate game, the inscrutable contest between the unrelenting archons, soul deities of the alien religion of Zion above. And so one thing that it does is it's going to kind of whisper to you, and it's going to say stuff like, if you question its purposes, it belongs not to the pawn to question the intentions of the hand that moves it. And if you do not do what it tells you to do, and you completely start to abandon the Numinous Gate altogether, the shadow will slay him. But there is a bonus, a blessing that you get. It's a miracle of Azmorain. Usable once per day, you may detach your shadow to perform any action the character could perform for 1 turn. So the shadow will generally follow the character's commands, although it will pursue Azmorain's purposes if those diverge from the orders of the character. It's got an AC of 9 and 1 hit point, but it's physically the same as the champion. It can use some of the spells that the champion has, but they're going to be 2 levels lower. So very cool kind of dark gift that this thing is going to give you, obviously. But it can be dispelled by light spell. And if it's destroyed or dispelled, the character will be without a shadow until he sleeps again. And then I'll explain here exactly what it's trying to do in this battle of the Archons. So cool piece of art. It's a little dark, but I wish I could see it just a little bit better in there. But that's that. So there it is. There is Through Ultan's Door. It's a very cool little dungeon crawl. I don't think it would take you very long. There is some cool fights. The puppet fight is, of course, is pretty much the standout battle, other than the big battle with the white swine. But great piece of art, great zine, exactly the way it's supposed to be. Really evocative map, as well as art that's found inside. And it looks like a great adventure. So I will be taking a look at the other zines as well that follow this one, Through Ultan's Door, in future videos. So I hope you'll stay tuned to that. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel, as the numbers continue to go up pretty much every day. I'm very appreciative of that. If you've played this adventure, if you haven't anything to comment on it, let me know what you think about Through Ultan's Door. You can pick it up, like I said, if you click on the down in the description. It'll have the link to the PDF for that, and hopefully there is a way to still get these in physical form because they are very nice. So there it is, Through Ultan's Door, issue number 1. Thanks.